How's it going, guys? This is Jumbo XMC, and today I'm going to give you the 5 best beginner Fortnite tips for people new to the game. I'm also going to give you a couple of maps that I like to use to help me practice. Okay, so a couple of maps that I like the most for practicing all of these mechanics are Raider 464's Mechanics Training V5 map. Here you can practice your building, your editing, your piece control, and even your aiming. Another map that I used a ton when I was first getting started is JivanTV's How to Build tutorial map. Here, it'll give you a wide variety of retakes, edit courses that you can practice, even piece control drills. I highly recommend this map if you're just getting started. It'll teach you just about anything you need to know building-wise in the game. And I will also post the map codes for both of these maps in the description so you can check them out. Okay, so I've just loaded into Raider 464's Mechanics Training Map V5. There are a few different options here, but we're going to go for free build for right now. As you can see, the map code is located in the top of the screen. I'll also post it in the description. Okay, so tip number 1 is you want to make sure that your sensitivity is not set too high nor too low. If it's too high, when you try to aim, it's going to be really shaky. If it's too low, you're going to have to move your mouse and readjust, and it's just too much. So I'll show you what I did to find my ideal sensitivity. Okay, so right now I have my face cam pointed down to my mouse so you can see exactly what I'm talking about as I'm doing it. So in my opinion, the ideal sensitivity is one where you can do a 360 or 1.5 360s and only use the full width of your mouse pad. So for example, I'm staring at a point on this ramp. I am going to move my mouse from one end of the mouse pad to the other. Now, as you can see, I used my entire mouse pad and I only moved about 1.5 360s. Now, I am currently on 1600 DPI and my mouse sensitivity is 3.2 X and Y axis. So the way I recommend trying to find your own ideal sensitivity, you want to stick anywhere between 1 and 2 360s whenever you use your whole mouse pad. Your mouse pad may be smaller, it may be bigger than the one I have, so just use what you have. Stare at a point that's not going to move on your screen and use the entire mouse pad from left to right and adjust your sensitivity until you have about 1.5, 2, or 1 360s. Anything more than that, you're just going to be all jittery whenever you aim. Anything less, you're going to have to adjust every time you want to look around. Now, tip number 2 is to make sure that all of your keybinds are in a comfortable place that also allows for complete mobility when pulling out your shotgun, any of your builds, and editing. So for my weapon keybinds, I personally have the shotgun on V. That allows me to pull my shotgun out when I'm moving to the right and to the left. For my build keybinds, I use the mouse buttons here on the side. My wall is located on this front one, and then my ramp is located on the back button. For my cone and my floor, I use V and Shift, respectively. And as you can see, I can place all of my builds while moving to the right and to the left. Now that is extremely important when you're in a fight. You don't want to mess up just because you can't move in a certain direction when you're building or pulling out your shotgun. And the same is also true with editing. I have my edit button on my right thumb right here on my mouse, so I can move to either direction when I'm editing. And for tip number 3, you need to get comfortable with your keybinds and your sensitivity. And the best way to do that is to learn some basic retakes and basic edits. The first edit you want to practice is placing a floor wall, editing that wall, and placing another floor after. So full speed, it looks like this. And if that becomes a little too easy, you can also change the edit that you do. Now, I would also practice changing direction while you do this. Now, if that becomes a little too easy, you can also throw in a ramp. So you edit the ramp, place a wall, edit the wall, place a floor and a ramp. So at full speed, it looks like this. And just like the last one, you can also change directions with this one. So we've only talked about edits that we can do when we're on one level and we want to stay on that level. What if we want to go up? So the simplest edit we can do when we want to go up is a single edit. You place a ramp, a cone, edit the cone, and place another ramp. So at full speed, it looks like this. Okay, pretty simple. Now, if you find that that becomes a little too easy, we can turn it up a little bit and go into double edits. So all that is the same thing we were doing before, but before we edit this cone, we place a floor underneath it. So then we edit both of them, and then place another ramp. So at full speed, it looks like this. To make them a little easier at the start, you can strafe side to side like this. That gives you more time to make the edits. So now if you feel like that's becoming a little too easy, you can do, let's say, 5 double edits in a row. Then you can move on to triple edits. All a triple edit is the same thing we were doing before with the floor and the cone. Edit through them like normal. Before you place the ramp, you want to place a wall right here and edit through that. So at full speed, it looks like this. So now we're going to talk about a couple of pretty basic beginner retakes. Starting out, we have the sway retake. You're going to start with a ramp, place walls to the side, above that, and right in front of you. And then you're going to place another ramp right above you. As you get to this wall, you're going to edit through, place another ramp, walls, and a ramp. So at full speed, it looks like this. This retake is probably one that I use the most in game. It's pretty good at blocking all angles, and it's very easy to learn starting out. You may have noticed that with this retake, I'm only blocking my right side, but the good thing about it is you can switch where these walls are. Instead of placing them on the right side, we can place them on the left side here. And it's the same retake. And just like your edits, there are levels to this retake. So if instead you don't want to edit out of the front, you can also edit out of the side and go up this way. Another cool thing you can do with this retake is, let's say you're ramping up, you're doing the retake. If you don't want to do either of those options, you can do more of a 90 where you rotate this ramp, land on it, and then you can put a cone and a floor above you and edit out. And another very basic retake you've probably heard of is 90s. All you do is place a ramp, a wall behind it, place walls above you and to the sides, and as you jump, place a floor and a ramp. So it looks like this. Then you run up and do the same thing over again. So at full speed, it looks like this. Another variation of 90s are infinite 90s. Traditionally, you'd only be able to do about 3 90s in a row before you start getting jump fatigue. With infinite 90s, you can do an infinite number of them. So you do a 90 like normal, do 2 of them. So after 2, make sure you're in this corner, place a floor and a ramp, and then continue up. Another good retake that I like to do is a little bit tougher than the other ones, but it's very useful and I use it a lot in game. You want to start with a ramp, place a cone above you, edit the cone, place walls, and another cone. This one is a little tricky to get down at first. So you want to go ramp, cone, edit, walls, cone. So jump, reset, turn it into a stair. You want to do all of that in the air. So it looks like this. So edit, walls, cone, reset this cone, and turn it into a stair. Edit, walls, cone, reset, edit, walls, cone. So at full speed, it looks like this. Now you can also make this one a little bit more difficult and a little bit more protected. Instead of just the cone, you can place a floor, edit through those, place the wall, floor, cone. And then reset the same way. Edit, floor, cone. So at full speed, it looks like this. So I've given you some pretty basic to a little bit more advanced retakes and edits. The more you practice those, the easier they'll get, and the more you'll be able to incorporate them in like free builds and stuff like that. So for tip number 4, we're going to be talking about piece control. Essentially what piece control is just getting all of the builds around your opponent so that they can't have any of them. Now this is important because let's say I'm in a box, okay? I own every piece in this box. If someone comes up, they can't just make an edit and shoot me. okay? Now let's say someone took this wall and it's now their wall. If I'm unaware of this, they have this piece, and they can come up, edit, and take a shot before I even know it. So you have to make sure you have all of the piece control around you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to box someone. So let's say you're ramping up here, and an opponent is ramping up and they got a little bit higher than you. So what you can do is place a cone, wall, 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 edit this wall, build a little box, and reset this wall. So you have essentially gotten all of the pieces around your opponent except this ramp, of course. So now you can take a good peek and take your shot. There are other ways to box people, of course. Let's say you are on a floor here, and then you have an opponent who is ramping this way. What you can do is place a cone over them, a wall here, and place walls behind them. And you're essentially in the same spot you were. You can take a good peek and take your shot. But let's say you want to box someone that's below you here. You can place a floor, a cone, edit through those, place walls, and a cone. Now you have a good right-hand peek, and you can take your shot, have them full boxed. So the way I like to practice all of these drills is here in Raider's Mechanics Training Map V5. I like to go into the piece section. Here you'll be able to see all kinds of piece control drills. You can change the bot health to make it higher or lower. You can also enable peek practice, which lets the bot shoot you if you're making a bad peek. This map has just about any scenario you can think of, and it's very useful if you want to improve your piece control. Now, tip number 5 is something you're probably not going to want to hear because you've probably heard it too many times. Practice. You need to practice as much as you can, but more importantly, practice correctly. Fortnite is a very hard game with a lot of complex mechanics. It will take a lot of time to become proficient at this game. But don't let that discourage you. The more you practice, the faster you will improve. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.